Hey YouTube, this is Michael with ZoneRobotics. I'm just going to go over kind of the hardware and let you guys know where we're at with the hardware development. We've had this board designed for us. It's a 4-layer board and it supports your microprocessor, your camera, and your communications port, as well as it has some connections for your servos and buttons and switches and whatnot. So here's it fully populated. It turns out that the communications port had some pins mapped wrong, so we had to connect some wires there, and we will definitely have to have a respin of this board. So here's the user button and the reset button, and here's some little switches to set things like the access point or connect to your router. There's some connections up here for your servo to connect to. Normally this board won't be here, so they won't be blocked like that. And as you can see, I have a servo connected here for demonstration. So the camera connector is connected to a 10-inch cable that goes to the camera. We were testing to see whether or not that would cause issues, having a really long cable like that, and it does not. So you can easily attach this to something very far away, and you can have some flex and be able to move the camera around away from the actual main body. We're using a 5-volt power source for now. You see there's a bunch of unpopulated stuff right there. We had the USB to UART converter. So still developing on this, but it does work very well. The video feed looks just fine, and we'll fire that up. But before we do, I want to show you guys another feature that I added in. If you've reset it and you hold down the user button when you turn it on, it actually goes into a self-test mode. And that self-test mode basically allows us to connect and test to each and every GPIO, like on a board like this, and test that the solder connection is 100% perfect. So we'll know that the boards are working just fine before we ship them out. And let's see, if I go to my PC, I'm going to go ahead and run not the trash, the terminal, and I don't want to do any of that. I'm going to just cd into my directory, and I'm going to start the client. Now, I'm not going to talk about this too much because I talk about that in my other video, the introduction to the system, but I'm going to show you the hardware when it starts. So I just hit enter on my keyboard, and you can see, bam, it's already connected to the bot, and it's already giving me a live video feed. There you can see my sweater on the client. So from here I could go ahead and drive it around if it was actually connected to something. So I do get a very good video feed. Here we can look at the camera looking at the camera, and you can see I'm holding up the camera, so there's no scan lines or anything like that in the video with this 10-inch cable. It seems to work very well. And that's an update on how the hardware is working. Oh, before I cut this off, I'll try and use the servo. Yeah, that's servo 1. So see, I'm just over here in the client, I'm moving this slide bar back and forth, and you see that's controlling that servo right there. So there are 4 servo connections directly on this board ready to go. In order to connect the motors and whatnot, that's going to be on an additional board that this plugs into on the bottom. That way we can support several different bottom boards that allow you to connect to different types, whether you're running like motors for a tank or for a boat or for a car. You can actually have a different bottom board to support that. And there you see, even though moved it around and whatnot, it's still working just fine. So that's an update. I'll give another update, let me see, 2 Fridays from now. And I'm going to start doing updates every 2 weeks. Please let me know if you have any questions or want any more info or want to help out. Thanks.